Hi, so my name is Abby, or Abigail, and I'm here to do a review on the book It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. It was published in, I think, April of 2016, so it's a fairly new book, and it's about a girl named Lily Bloom who loves gardening, loves flowers, loves everything. She wants to own a flower shop, all that jazz. It also features Ryle Kincaid, or I should say Dr. Ryle Kincaid, since he's a neurosurgeon, and it also features Atlas Corrigan. Hope I'm saying that right. He has, like, I would say probably the most character development out of everyone in the whole story. In the beginning of the story, he's a homeless teenager who Lily helps, and Lily takes care of, and Lily ends up loving. And you see that through her journals. You see, like, the Atlas's character, and then he turns into, like, a chef of a restaurant, and everything is, like, perfect. Like, he's just perfect. Like, he has his whole life together, and he's not homeless and poor anymore. I'm going to start off with the trigger warnings. I would say that the trigger warnings of this book are gun violence and guns, rape, and domestic abuse in two like instances, two parts of the book. So a little bit hard. It's hard to avoid because that's a lot of what this book is about. So that's something that you're not into. This book may not be for you. But that's kind of just a good overview. The genre, I have my notes down here. The genre, I would say, is a fiction. It's romance. Google also says it's contemporary romance. I would even go as far as saying this is a YA book, and I'm a person who thinks that YA means like 13 to 30. So I think YA is a huge range. So I would consider this a YA novel or a young adult novel. So more into my thoughts on this book. I rated this book about a 7 out of 10. It wasn't my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I read two. I read November 9, and now It Ends With Us. And November 9 was by far, like, to me, a lot better. And just the storyline of it, it got me hooked faster. I loved November 9. It Ends With Us was okay. I picked it, so I read my books from my library app, and so I get all my books for free, basically. And I picked it because I was like, I'm gonna read a Colleen Hoover book, and I'm gonna pick the only one that doesn't have a hold on it, or I have to wait for. So I wanted to read it at lunch at work. So picked it. I was like, It Ends With Us. All right, borrow, sweet. And then I read it, and I was hooked, and I kept reading it. I finished it in like 2 days. So it does grab you, and it's very appealing in that way. Like, grabs you very fast, just like November 9 did, if you've ever read November 9. I have a lot of mixed emotions about this book. I loved it, but parts of it just make me really upset, and it's not because of the abuse. Like, obviously abuse isn't okay. Obviously, like, it's wrong. But it wasn't that made me dislike this book. It's not what made the rate go any lower. Sorry if you hear my dogs bark. I would say that my biggest mixed emotion with this is Atlas's point in the book. So I realized that, this is going to contain spoilers, that she meets him when she's really young in high school, and she falls in love with him, and they end up kissing, and he goes off to the military. And I realized that it kind of helps her realize what true love is, what meaningful love is. And she does love him. It's like her first love, and she really does love him. And I think, like, he's there to point that out, but later in the book, I don't see a reason why he needs to be there. Like, I understand, like, in the epilogue that she meets him again and to love you, and, like, other than that, I don't see his point in the book. He didn't really help her realize that Ryle was abusive. he just told her, hey, call me if he abuses you again and I'll like take care of you. But I just don't see a point of Atlas's point in the book other than the beginning. Like, I just didn't understand. Point that I have mixed emotions about is I'm mad at Lily for not leaving Ryle faster. So before they even like, well, first they got married, but before they got married, he like pushed her into something and hurt her, and she was like, oh, it's fine. It's not fine. Like, she was hurt, and you know, he pushed her because he was angry. Like, that's not okay, and she should have realized from having parents that have an abusive background, or a dad that has an abusive background on her mom, that that is not okay and that she should have left. So I'm mad at the character for not choosing to leave him, because she proved herself to be a strong, independent woman that really honestly could have done that if she needed to. And as soon as they got married, I knew that it was all gonna go downhill. Like, it was like the middle of the book and I knew something was gonna happen. And I knew like as soon as they got married, something bad would happen. And it did. It proved me right. I knew that it was a mistake that would later bite her in the ass. And it did. I found myself, I don't know why, I mean, I was hooked in this book, but I found myself being so unforgiving of her mistakes. The fact that she got Atlas's phone number and didn't tell him. Atlas visited the flower shop and didn't tell Ryle. I keep wanting to call him Kincaid. And didn't tell Ryle. All these things. Like, she deserves to be caught for not telling Ryle these things. Like, these are things that you should probably tell your partner if you're in a, like, a good relationship. And she didn't. She didn't deserve to be hurt. She did not deserve to be hit. She did not deserve to be physically abused, but she deserved to be caught for those acts. My opinion. People can think otherwise, but I don't think that's something that you can hide from who you are married to, even if you do forget that you have his number. In fact, I really like I don't like the fact that Ryle was an abusive guy, but I like the fact that it showed that not everyone is perfect. That Ryle Kincaid, Dr. Ryle Kincaid, the neurosurgeon, a freaking neurosurgeon, is not perfect. He definitely wasn't perfect. Like, he first just wanted a one-night stand with her, but ended up falling in love with her, because that's just how books go. And just because his arrogance proved to be his flaw, and his background that he never wanted to share proved to be his flaw. Has he abused in the past, and that's probably why he didn't want to be in other relationships? I'm sure. Because once an abuser, always an abuser, in my opinion. I don't think that people really outgrow that type of stuff. I mean, sure, people can change and they can stop doing it, but you still are an abuser. You still abused. Again, my opinion, you can think otherwise. I am honestly surprised that I did not see more emotional abuse between the two. A lot of what I saw between Ryle and Lily was just happy, you know, sexy, like fight, they probably bickered, like all this stuff, but I did not see any emotional abuse. And when I think physical abuse, I automatically just think of emotional abuse as well, because they kind of coincide with each other. Like, you have one, you have the other. You can have emotional abuse without having physical abuse, but if you have physical abuse, I'm pretty sure there's an emotional abuse in there as well. And I just didn't see that, which was shocking to me. So the ending was probably the worst part of the book for me. I did not like the ending. My question is she had, when she found out she was pregnant with Ryle's baby, and she had like 6 months of just kind of having him be there and like try to be in this baby's life, and she didn't really make any point in being like, oh, maybe I can take him back. Like, oh, I should take him back. Like, I love him. Like, she did love him. But she wasn't like, hey, I'm thinking about taking him back. Like, she knew. She was like, he did something wrong and I don't want to be with him. But she waited 6 months, and she waited until her baby was born out of the womb and say, I want a divorce. I just don't understand that. I really don't understand that. I think that the divorce should have came a lot sooner. And I get it's supposed to be like, oh, it ends with the baby and her, this cycle of abuse, this familial abuse. Everything ends with us, and I get that. But I don't understand why she had to wait until the baby was born to divorce him. I don't understand it. If someone could make me understand it, please do, because I'm sure it would make the book much better to me. But those are my opinions on the book. If you guys have any book recommendations, please let me know. I am open to anything. Let me know what you guys want to see on my channel. I'm happy to help out and do what I can. The next book I'm reading is, I believe, The Outsider by Stephen King. That's probably going to be my next review. I'm also planning on doing a review on the After series by Anna Todd. Hopefully before the movie comes out in 9 days. So let me know what you guys want to see. And sorry if the lighting's bad. I'm trying to use what's left of the natural daylight before it goes away for the day. Alright, thanks guys.